the intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a look at the Borg Probes. Again, it's been a while since we've done this. It's needed an update because we got new crews in the game, and we're going against the Borg again because it's 2023, and sometimes you just gotta go through some refreshers. But of course, we're talking about the actual Vidar, like the old school, and the one's been out for like 3 years.
No bloody A, B, C.
Oh yeah, and what he says.
D.
No bloody A, B, C, or D here. The good old-fashioned Vidar. And what crews do we use and when, and why does it change? Because there is a little bit of variance there. We're going to talk about what it is like to fight the 33 probes, which are currently the biggest in the game. They're the main focus that we're going after here in the Borg, and it's been the main part of the Borg loop. So we can source officers and stuff like that from them. Now, you get this ship starting at level 25, and you get through Cosmic Cleanup on Saturdays, and even through an event store here and there if you want to expedite that process a little bit. But beyond that, it's just also a great ship. It's one of the few specialty ships that's not a one-trick pony. Like, this thing's great in PvP, PvE, armadas. You can use it just about anywhere and find effect. But my current Borg grinding crew is actually right here on the screen. I'm running Strange New World Pike, Strange New World Uhura, and 5 of 11. The reason I do this is a mixture of great ability to grind mixed with getting those probes as quickly as possible, which is something I think that everybody ends up wanting to do. We want to get this thing filled up quickly because right now, as it sits in the game, we need so many probes, it takes a while. So part of that process is finding the effective crews. Now, for big Vidars and big, the big probes, the 33s, which are still like little babies, they're not very hard to kill. Here are the various crew sets that we tested on Spock's Club, and as you can see, there is a wide range of varying crews. The one that I use is prominently displayed, but you also see others. Now, the one that is most effective typically in terms of just getting the most loot and the most kills is the one directly in the middle. But what you'll find is that's not always the best one, or rather worded, it's not always the one that you're probably going to want to go for. And the reason being is time. Like, do you want to sit there and grind that many? Because hull is also a thing to consider here. If you're going to get as much hull as possible, well, or you have a limited amount of hull, well, then you're going to want to kind of get as much as possible. But back it up. We got those new Borg exo comps now, which increase the amount of loot that you get. So the crew that I use right here, that you see right there, which is actually one of the best ones, actually fills up the hull pretty quickly against 33s thanks to the exocomp. Now, I still will complain about the exocomp as its current iteration. And we've talked about this so much on Discord. Y'all have been there. Current iteration is you got to get 2 probes worth of stuff a day. That's a pain, but I get over 500,000, so it ends up working out. But there's the image, there's the main crews, and this is what I use. But really comes down to, why do we have varying crews? Because for those that don't know, if you are, say, going against a level 29 probe and you're trying to go against a smaller one, you're actually going to change this up. You're going to bring out the old schools. You're going to bring out 7 of 11. Yeah, 7 of 11. Actually, I'm going to speed this up here in the middle of a show. I didn't even realize 7 of 11 was out. So please get a critical. No, because my RNG is like that. So what you actually end up having is this. I'm including this version for those who don't have 5 of 11. So if you're a newer player or a lower level player in the game, here's your crew for fighting level 29 Borg probes. Very specific though. Why level 29 Borg probes? Now, if this would be like if I had a tier 5 or a tier 7 Vidar, which I do have 2 Vidars. Believe it or not, Rev does have 2 Vidars. Here's another one that I can click through. And yeah, let's put a tier 3 here with Pike, Moreau, Chin. Since Pike and Moreau have gotten easier to source thanks to field training, here's Pike, Moreau, Chin on a tier 3. Now, the question comes down to, why would you use different crews versus different probes? A probe is a probe, right? Wrong. It's actually not a probe as a probe for whatever reason. So when you look at these, one of the things that the game doesn't show you when you go through the info menu is the firing pattern of a hostile. And this actually is very important when you're talking about how we can go after these and how we can defeat them. So what you want to focus on with the Vidar, especially as a lower level player or even as a max level player, is you don't want the Vidar to get to round 10 where it really wants to pop the ever-loving mess out of you. So here's an example of that here with the firing pattern through, not Spock's Club, STFC.space, so shout out to Ripper. You can see the firing pattern of a 25. Now, ignore the 33s in the background. Focus on the fact that we're talking about 25s. You see energy weapon, 1, every single round. Pop, 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 pop. That's why we love Chin versus 25s and even 33s. But you look at there's another energy weapon and then kinetic weapons round 10. 2 of them will smack you very hard. You gotta pay attention to those. So you want to try to kill these as quickly as possible. And I'll go back and explain why 7 of 11 is actually really good for that. But what's crazy is that's the 25, but if then we go to a 29 probe, it's a much different situation where that energy weapon in the beginning is not firing every single round. We're not taking as much DPS, but that round 10 will still smack the ever-loving snot out of you. And then you come to the 33s, the main one that people end up grinding most of their time in the game, the other firing pattern. So you have this weird spot in the 29s where you can take advantage of the lack or the lesser firing pattern of a Borg probe, and then you can use a different crew, especially a more accessible crew, to take advantage of that. So let's jump back into our officers menu and talk about why that can be effective and why that can be a good run. And it's really beneficial for newer players because maybe you don't have the epics, but you do have the rares and the uncommons, so it's putting you in a good position. Let's take a look at 7 of 11. Cap's ability is resistant as futile when fighting a Borg tactical probe. This is only the probes. This is not the new armadas or anything. When fighting tactical probe, has a 20% chance without synergy of increasing the number of shots of each weapon by 2. So what does that mean for the Vidar? Well, let's back out real quick and we'll take a little winky dink look. So hit your upgrade button. You're gonna look at the weapons here. What's our firing pattern? Well, charge time, recharge time, shot. So this is gonna fire round 1, takes 2 rounds to recharge for that phaser turret. Then we got the kinetics. Charge time 2, recharge 1. So after round 2, we're just popping. We just popping. And then come down here, big gun. So you've got several shots, but if you can multiply those, remember the current meta of the game in a lot of ways is really, and I hope everybody's noticing that, you're getting more and more crews coming out focusing on shot creation. But this was actually one of the first officers to ever do it, 7 of 11. And now you have that as a regular run. So if we hit our group here, we'll put 7 up here, and then we'll just throw up 9. Now, again, you don't have to use 5 of 11 if you don't have her. If you do have her, she's great here on the side. And yes, against 29s, you would put her on the side because you're going for that now bonus of a 90% chance. So it's almost guaranteed you're going to get more shots. And this allows you to kind of fly through those 29s and take almost no damage because you kill them before they're really doing anything to you, those probes. You can even use this crew later and grind more, but go back to that original image I showed you. You can see that crew right here is actually at the far end, way down there. It's slightly different, but that's the original crew. You see it's still effective against the 33. It's just not as effective as you maybe would want it to be, but it still does work. Obviously, more optimal to go with the one that you saw originally, or actually the ones right here in the middle. I do want to point out that another big favorite is running 5 Chin Talon. Why do you see people running 5 Chin Talon? I get asked that a lot. Well, the answer goes back to the firing pattern. If you remember the firing pattern of these, energy and kinetic. Well, what does Chin and Talon do? Chin's for energy, Talon's for kinetic. So just understanding the basic principles of the game and the various maths that we have to go through will kind of explain why we go through some of these different crews. So it might seem kind of weird to test all these out, but there's a purpose to it. And it's important to note that the new crews, these Strange New World crews, have really helped reset in a positive way the meta for Borg and for swarms. And should the game choose to add more to Borg, and here month 1 we've added armadas, and you got to hope that there's more coming with things like an updated ship or, you know, new hostiles or something. Surely they don't keep the same level 33 probes for 3 years, and if they do, well, then this video just looks really silly. Wouldn't be the first time that Scopely made me have egg on my face, so I guess I can't say too much, but please do something. Like, please, more. But anyway, transition. Remember these 29 probes. Look at that. You're going to have 4 rounds of only 3 shots against 29s. It's a very good sweet spot. If you're a newer player, lower level player, and you're watching this, you want to start at 25s, kind of work your way up and get to 29s. And this is a crew that most of you are going to have early on. But I will say, I still prefer what I would say is the new meta, which is Strange New World Pike, Strange New World Uhura, and then running your favorite Borg, at least my favorite Borg. I have a lot of Borg that I actually like. I really do like a lot of them. I got to sort by strength to find her. There she is. But she's maybe my favorite. And I actually had Borg Jayla before I had Jayla by about, what, a year and a half. So we swapped that out. Let's take the firing pattern off the screen. And there's your refresher on the Vidar. If you have a tier 3 Vidar, you're really going to be fighting like level 25 Borg Probes. When you get to about that tier 5 to tier 7 range, you can switch to 29s. The sweet spot though is the 29. Remember that that's where it's unique. But if you're looking at what crews to run, you can use the one that I just showed you, the 7 crew, against any of them. But you really want to remember the firing pattern and how like 25s and 33s, etc. operate. They have a lot of energy shots. So running something simple like Pipe and Road Chin is a go-to. It's an easy one for both the low level and the top level of those hostiles, but it varies based on your research, your account, your ships, etc. Y'all know how it works, and we can always give recommended individual advice. So if you enjoyed this video and it helps you out, remember, drop a link in the comment section down below, right there. If you do me a huge favor, like this video, hit subscribe. Like 50% of y'all don't even subscribe to the channel, but you're getting info. So hit the subscribe button if you wouldn't so mind. It actually helps out the channel a great deal. And last but not least, hope you have an amazing day. Join us in the Discord if you haven't already. Live long and prosper. Stay safe for the Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next one. And hey, we'll see where Borg goes.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.